right, so I have the pleasure of introducing Teresa Hollenbeck with CW Title this morning. She chose a pretty fun question. Are there any interesting things her name spells? She came up with Easter, teas, trees, rest, and star. And a great ending. You are certainly a star, Teresa, and brighten up our day. Can she speak any languages? She speaks English, but took some German in high school because that's some of her origin. So a little bit of passion there. Some of her favorite strange food combinations has to do with spaghetti. So her grandma got a recipe from an Italian neighbor, and the strange part that her family always includes is a big spoon of cottage cheese on the side, but only for this recipe. If she could be anywhere in the world right now, she would like to be on Rhine Viking River cruise. Ooh, hopefully you're able to get out there, Teresa. She would like to retire in maybe Montana, and this is a bit new because in the past it's been Washington. And her dream job is exactly what she does right now. So, Teresa Hollenbeck.
Thank you, Samantha. What a great job you always do, I tell ya. Well, I think we need a little humor. So I'm going to share the screen because when either Escrow, there's two ways. Either you laugh or you cry. So here we go. See if I can find it.
In today's world, we all have a different perspective on what other people do in their professions. We thought we would have a little bit of fun in pointing out some of the common misconceptions of what an escrow officer does. No escrow officers were harmed in the making of this film.
So I'm going to skip to the middle.
Hires me to do. What I sometimes want to do.
No problem. Okay, absolutely. No, I understand the urgency. Absolutely. Oh, right now. I'm going to do it right now. Okay, no problem. Thank you. I appreciate you guys so much. Bye.
What everyone else thinks I do.
Yes.
Hi, today we have number 36 here. Mr. and Mrs. Askeker are here for their signing.
Okay, go ahead, send them in.
All right.
Hello.
Hi there.
Ready to sign?
Yes, we are.
Here you go. That's it. Congratulations. You own the home.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Yes.
To number 37, your courtesy signing up here, Mr. Van Line.
Okay, send them in.
Okay.
Thank you. Next.
What I actually do.
Hi, do you know where my loan docs are at? I'm on the phone with the lender right now. Hi, will you have loan docs to me today? Okay, as soon as I get docs, I can get you signed. By 2 o'clock? Okay. Docs will be here at 2 o'clock. Can you come in right after that? Okay, we're gonna fund at 3. Okay, if you can come in right after 2 o'clock, then we can get this closed by 3:30. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
So a little humor, but I thought it was pretty true to life. So what is escrow? Escrow is an impartial third-party process in which documents and funds are deposited by buyers, sellers, and lenders to facilitate the closing for a real estate transaction. Escrow is required to follow mutual written instructions from all parties. That means they have to follow the title report and clear it up. They have to follow lender instructions, and they have to follow the purchase and sale agreement to a T. Escrow will coordinate with the buyer, the seller, and the lenders to obtain signatures on all documents. Escrow works closely with the title officer to clear liens and encumbrances against the property and record the documents in the county. So these last 8 minutes, I'm going to actually show you the settlement statement, which is the most important document in the entire transaction. And we're going to go through that a little bit, step by step, so you can kind of see what's involved, because all of us at one time have either bought or sold or will, and this is going to be important for you to know these facts. So I'm going to share the screen again. Let's see, here we go. Okay. So typically in a purchase and sale agreement, the seller only sees their side and the buyer only sees their side of a transaction. But agents get to see both the seller and the buyer side, because they have to make sure that the credits given to the seller or the buyer are exactly how they should be. So I'll start at the very top. And the very top gives the buyer and the seller's name and their address and when they're going to close. So as you can see on a settlement statement, there are debits and credits on either side. Good for accountants. Samantha, this should be the joy of your life to be looking at a settlement statement, and Carrie too, and Tina. So here we've got a credit. So here it shows the sales price of the home, $875. That's going to be a credit on the seller side. It's going to be a debit on the buyer side. The buyer does have a few credits. When they deposit their earnest money, when the purchase and sale agreement is signed around, that will be a credit to this $875. So the buyer put $25,000 down. They also took out a loan through Tina for $630,000. And then here, this isn't happening now, but the seller actually gave the buyer a $3,000 credit. Not happening. Okay, and then there's taxes and there's HOA dues. If the seller paid, and in this case, they're closing in September of last year, the seller gets a credit for the taxes through December, but the buyer also then will have to pay the remaining taxes for that year. And the same if the seller paid the HOA for the entire year, they're going to get a credit, and that will be a debit on the buyer's end. Now, buyers have some loan fees, and that comes with credit reports, appraisal fees, flood certification, HOA dues, all that good stuff. That's lined up as on the buyer side. And then heading down to Nicole, and our favorite part, our title and escrow fees, because they're so important. You need title insurance, you need escrow to facilitate the transaction. So in this case, a debit on the seller side, the seller pays for the buyer's policy and the buyer pays for the lender's title policy. There are wire and courier fees, and then there is also an escrow fee, which is exactly the same because it's split down the middle. And then this is Carrie's favorite part. We have commissions because she works so darn hard to serve her clients. She will see exactly what's on both sides. Both agents will see on both sides what there's. So they need to verify this to make sure that it was done correctly. And then we have recording fees. So just so you know, July of the end of this month, recording fees are going up from $100 for the first page to $200 for the first page. And then we have the excise tax, which again is a seller debit. Now the seller has typically loans on the property, so escrow has to get those payoffs. In this case, the seller had a first loan that the payoff was $362 and some odd change. And then they also took out a line of credit. Moving down here further, there's always miscellaneous fees, HOA dues. Here, it looks like the seller had a house painting that they did, and they're giving escrow the invoice so escrow can pay it out of closing. So all that looks like they did have to pay some staging fees as well. So here is the bottom line, and this is what really sellers and buyers need to look at. So the credits here, the house was actually 875, and you see here that we have a credit that's higher because the seller got a credit for some of their taxes and some of their HOA dues. So that rolls into the credit, but all their outstanding debt, all the loans that were paid off, all the extra other fees. So their take home, which is always what they want to look at, the proceeds that they're going to receive are $269,798. And on the buyer's side, they're going to be looking at their side very carefully. So the buyer, remember the house was 875, but as you can see, it looks like their debt is 890. And that includes their loan fees, what they have to pay for remaining title and, or I'm sorry, remaining HOA dues and remaining taxes. Their credits consisted of their earnest money deposit and what they borrowed from the lender. So the seller actually receives money, but the buyer has to bring in $232,415.56. So there you go.